hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in. Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's going on? This is me, your boy Trey. You know what it is. First Formation Morning Sports Talk. We're going to tap in this morning. I'm going to be on a short amount of time. Y'all see I'm out in nature, working from a remote location as we're a little technical difficulty as far as I think an internet outage or something like that. But anyway, I don't want to leave y'all, all my high speeds, everyone out there, uninformed and without content. So of course, a lot's going on in the last couple of days. I didn't want anyone to think I was basically missing due to the fact that the Lakers took an L last night, their 11th consecutive loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know what that's all about, but in any case, still an opportunity, as all they need is for the Golden State Warriors to lose one game, and then for them to be successful with their last two games, that being against the Phoenix Suns as well as the Utah Jazz. But in any case, a couple of games last night, as we're going to get to a few things real quick before we get out of here for the weekend. First and foremost, staying in the NBA, of course, we know that last night the Cleveland Cavaliers faced off against the Orlando Magic. Magic already eliminated from playoff contention. But the Mavericks, the Cavaliers still have to finish out their season, with the Magic being one of those games. Magic on last night was good. Frat, what's going on? Glad to have information with this brother. What's going on, man? Hey, I was just looking at some information. Carolina's going to have some new threads this year. New year, new team, new clothes. That's how it's going down in the Carolina. So, I don't know. I might have to be a fan this year. But in any case, we're going to get into that. We'll get into a little NFL conversation because there's been some things getting thrown around there. So we're going to tap into that as well. Keep pounding. But in any case, Jalen Suggs led the field for Orlando. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Additionally, no, I'm good. I stay in San Fran. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 24 minutes of play. Bobo, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists last night. Bobo is actually pretty skilled for a big man. Hopefully he continues to get an opportunity. Mo Wagner, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist from Jen Scrub. And that was the top players for the Orlando Magic. Of course, when you go to the other side of the spectrum, they was led by Dennis Green, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist from Kite, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist from Stevens, and C.D. Osman, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists for the dub for Cleveland as they won the game 118-94. With that win, of course, they moved 51 games, 30 losses on the year, 1 game remaining for the season as they get ready clearly in the playoffs. The Magic fall 34-46. It only makes their chances better for, like we said, those ping pong balls, as they currently have 2 selections in the first in the lottery for the most part. Another game last night, the 76ers faced off against the Miami Heat. Miami still chasing to get into that 6th spot, potentially switch places with the Brooklyn Nets, if that is possible. Of course, last night the 76ers. Joel Embiid, 21.6 rebounds, 2 assists as he continues his assault on a possible MVP trophy. PJ Tucker, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Tobias Harris, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists on the night. Shake Milton, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 10 assists. Jaden McDaniels with 2 points. Daniel House, 4 points, 3 rebounds. James Harden, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. George Niang with 7 points, 4 quads. Korkmaz, 8 points, 10 rebounds. 8 points, 3 rebounds on the night. And for the Heat, of course, Jimmy Butler, 24 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. 24 points, 4 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists from Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo contributed 14 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Max Strus, 14 points, 1 rebounds, 4 assists. 13 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists from Caleb Martin. 6 points from Highsmith. 7 points from Kevin Love. 2 from Kane Robinson. Duncan Robinson with 5 points. Basically a 28-point drubbing of the Miami Heat by the 76ers by a score of 129-101. With that win, the Heat 43-37 on the year. The 76ers 52-28, but 2 games remaining as they continue to try to see if they can make a difference in that. But I think for the most part in the East, as we'll look at the standings shortly, that the seeding is pretty much locked in, especially with these games remaining. The other night, last night, I think it was, or night before last, the Milwaukee Bucks were able to solidify and clinch the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference as well as the NBA overall. So in any case, as long as Milwaukee continues to move forward, they will be the number 1 team. Home court advantage throughout the course of this the NBA playoffs. So that goes fine. But I have a question, right? Does home court advantage really make a difference? If you were a team that was competing in said NBA finals, is home court advantage really that much of a difference? I know what the rhetoric is. I know, but as a team, do you prefer to have home court advantage, or do you prefer to go on the road, or do you prefer to play in a neutral site? For the most part, we know we have seen different models, I guess you could say, where as Bishop always says, talk about the Lakers and their bubble season. But what is preference? How much difference does it make to be a home court? I.e., I understand when we talk about cheering fans, being able to sleep in your own bed and things of that nature. But is that a benefit, or can it be a hindrance in some cases? But in case, regardless of the fact, the Milwaukee Bucks currently hold home court advantage throughout the course of the NBA playoffs, Eastern and Western Conference. So we know if they do make it to the NBA championship, it will start in Milwaukee. Other game last night, the Portland Trailblazers faced off against the San Antonio Spurs, in which it was a game. I mean, it was a game. It was entertaining for the most part, but neither one had anything to play for the most part, except for a few more ping pong balls than the other. The Trailblazers 128, 127, 129 on the game last night, led by D-Man Eubanks, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. He did get some assistance from Sean May, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Terrence Wofford, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. On the other side of the spectrum, the Spurs, led by Keldon Johnson, of course, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Basically, I contribute with 25 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. A double-double from Zach Collins, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 24 points from Champagne, 4 points apiece from Langford and Barrow. And Ty Jones, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, as the Spurs edge out the Blazers last night by the score of 129 to 127. Still, the Blazers are better in their record, 33 and 47, 21 and 59 for the San Antonio Spurs. But in any case, both of them are lottery teams going forth, and we'll see how that ends up. I really wonder what is going to be the future for the San Antonio Spurs when you look at it. Are they going to maybe potentially seek different coaching? As is it the time frame? Has the time for Pop become a point to where he really isn't? Maybe his time has passed. Is what I'm saying. Do we have that where he maybe goes into an advisory role in San Antonio? Is it time for Pop to move on and be done with his coaching? Or do they continue to give homage to him being the winningest coach in NBA history, Hall of Fame coach at this point? What is the expectancy? What is the future for the San Antonio Spurs? A small money market. The biggest splash they had was bringing LaMarcus Aldridge there at one point, then trading Kawhi Leonard away to receive DeMar DeRozan, but of course, neither one of them stayed. What is the ceiling for the San Antonio Spurs going forward? Do they get back to a position to where they're going to be potent enough? I don't know, but it remains to be seen. In any case, the Thunder, Oklahoma City Thunder, faced off against the Utah Jazz last night, in which, with the outcome, one team was eliminated from any type of playoff contention, leaving only one other team to battle and jostling for an opportunity to get in. For the Utah Jazz, led led by Chris Dunn's 22.7 rebounds, 8 assists, 13 points from Ajabi Ajabaji, 11 points, 3 rebounds from Fortuna Fortecchio, 4 points, 2 rebounds from Damian Jones. Juan Toscano Anderson, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Kelly Olynyk, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists on the night. Azubuike, 12 points, 7 rebounds for the Thunder. Of course, led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 22.7 rebounds, 7 assists. Josh Giddey, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists on the night. 14 points, 10 rebounds from Dario Saric. 11 points from Isaiah Joe. 10 points from Waters the third. Jalen Williams, 9 points, 1 rebound, 5 assists. Lou Dort, 5 points, 8 rebounds, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists from Williams. As the Thunder get the victory, 114-98. Of course, with that W, the Thunder were able to knock out Utah, as now they are out of contention. Only one team remains in contention for the play-in, and that, of course, is the Dallas Mavericks, just sitting a half game behind the Denver Nuggets. But we'll get into that swiftly in a second, as the last game last night pitted the two top four contenders in the Western Conference. The Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, as we continue to have a conversation about what does the Nuggets do late in the season, or even in the playoffs. They be the hot scorer the whole season, and then it comes down to where it counts the most. They tend to fade back. The Suns last night, Kevin Durant, 24.7 rebounds, 4 assists, led the field. Chris Paul, 25.6 rebounds, 2 assists. 15 points, 1 rebound, 8 assists from Devin Booker. Torrey Craig with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Josh Okogie, 5 points. DeAndre Ayton, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists for the Nuggets, the top leaders. For the Suns, their top leaders. For the Nuggets, of course, some of their key players decide to sit out the night, but they was led by Bruce Brown's 31.6 rebounds, 4 assists. 20 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists from Reggie Jackson. Ish Smith with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Josh Green, 14 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Chris Brown, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. PJ Watts, 3 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. DeAndre Jordan, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist. And Kansar, 2 points. As the Phoenix Suns um, gets the victory 119-115 over a short without any. You notice not a single star played from the Denver Nuggets, that being Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, or Michael Porter Jr. All set out last night's game. Suns get the victory 45 to 35 on the year. 2 games remaining, one being against the Lakers. And the Nuggets 52-28 on their season, with 1 game remaining as well. But for the most part, already locked in. So taking a look at the standings, of course, as we discussed and talked about before, in the Eastern Conference, it's a little nippy out here. In the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks currently hold down the 1 seed, 3 games ahead of the Celtics. That's already locked in. The Celtics sit 3 games ahead of the 76ers, so they sit firm in the 2 seed. The 3 seed 76ers, a game and a half ahead of the 76ers, of the Cavaliers, I'm sorry. So, of course, that's locked in. So, for the most part, 1 through 4 definitely are locked in. That's solidified. For the Knicks at the 5 seed, and the Nets next at the 6 seed. Those seeds are so 1 through 5 definitely are locked in at this point. However, with 2 games remaining for both the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets, the Nets only have a 1 game advantage over the Heat. So it's a possibility, depending on what comes down to, as it comes down to the wire, the Nets can end up falling out of the 6th spot to the Miami Heat, possibly. Additionally, the Hawks is still in contention to even make a play for the 7th seed, but at this point, they would still be in the play-in regardless. But ideally, they want to stay in that 7-8 spot with only 1 opportunity. They're giving them 2 opportunities to still remain relevant and continue to push on. The Chicago Bulls are the 10th seed. The Raptors currently the 9th seed. 2 games separate them, but for the most part, all they would do is switch. Although the Raptors can knock the Hawks or have some pressure on the Hawks, will have an opportunity to switch positions with them. So, but for the most part, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, the 6th and the 7th can switch. The 8th and the 9th can possibly switch. 2 games remaining for both those teams, all those teams involved. But a little bit different in the West. As we know, the Nuggets sit 2 games ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, but Memphis has an opportunity where they can catch them. 2 games remaining, 2 games behind. The Kings in the 3rd spot. The Suns sit at the 4th spot with the Los Angeles Clippers at the 5th currently. The Warriors in the 6th spot. Both, actually, the Clippers and the Warriors are tied. Have a tie record with the Clippers having the tiebreaker sitting clearly over the Warriors. The Los Angeles Lakers do have an opportunity to where they can jump both teams potentially, or one team, I'm sorry, because the Clippers own the tiebreaker after that dub the day before yesterday. However, the Warriors can be overtaken by the Lakers, as I was talking about earlier. All the Lakers have to do is win out 2 games, Phoenix and Utah, and have the Warriors at minimal lose 1 game of their last 2 remaining, and the Lakers will be able to move in to the 6th spot in the playoffs. Currently sitting at the 7th spot, like we said, the Lakers, but the Pelicans tied record, so they have an opportunity if the Lakers falter to even bring them back down or push them into the 9th seed. The Timberwolves, 2 games remaining, they sit yet just 1 game behind the Lakers and the Pelicans, as well as 2 games behind the Clippers and the Warriors at the 5 and the 6th spot. The Thunder at the 10th spot currently, with the Mavericks hot on their trails, in which the Mavericks could get into the play-in with a 2-0 record, depending on what Thunders do. But one thing that is certain, if the Mavericks were to take a L, then they will as well be in the play-in. One thing that was was done the other night, what was solidified is the Magic did contest and challenge um, their game against the Warriors to where they had there was a basket made, an uncontested basket made due to the fact that the Mavericks said that the official did not come back and clarify that it was a switch, a role switch. A ball change after a timeout. Dallas Mavericks was set up at the opposite end of the court, expecting to get the inbound to where the ball was inbounded to the Golden State Warriors. On the opposite end of the court, they scored an uncontested basket. The Mavericks end up losing the game by 2 points, but for the most part, there was 14 minutes left in the game in which they contested, which means, and in that 14 minutes, the Mavericks led twice. So the expectancy is that that basket did not impact the outcome of the game for the most part, because there was plenty of opportunities for there to be a change, and the NBA decided to deny the Mavericks protest of said game and challenge. So tonight's game, of course, the Miami Heat take on the Wizards in Washington. The Indiana Pacers will be hosting the Detroit Pistons. The Houston Rockets are to be hosted by the Charlotte Hornets. Boston Celtics will host the Toronto Raptors. The Orlando Magic will be hosted by the Brooklyn Nets. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks would do battle in Atlanta. The New Orleans Pelicans will host the New York Knicks in the Noya tonight. Memphis Grizzlies face off against the Milwaukee Bucks, as that could really put a monkey wrench in their opportunity to try to claim. But of course, every team is not the same day in and day out. A possibility for the Bucks to fall and the Grizzlies to move one game closer or a half game closer to Denver being the number one seed. The Chicago Bulls are the first defense against the Mavericks possibly getting in. They face off tonight at 7:30. And last but not least, the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. We'll see how that goes. Hey, what's going on, Irma? Glad to have information this morning. How are you doing? The the Warriors had last-ditch effort to solidify that. I don't know what's up, Donovan. I don't know. He may or may not be. What's good, Commissioner Myers? Glad to have you information this morning. How you doing, sir? And of course, last but not least, if the Warriors fall to the Kings tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers have an opportunity to put a little more pressure and even potentially jump into the 6th seed with a win versus the Phoenix Suns. I definitely thought that the Lakers were going to be victorious against the Clippers the other night, in which this game with the Suns would have been asinine. Wouldn't really matter that much. It would have been expecting for them to lose. I got to think about what Alonzo said the other day. He's like, the Lakers are going to lose to the Clippers, and they're going to possibly lose again to the Phoenix Suns, in which will put them in the play-in. Let's hope that it just flips, and we don't see any of that coming to fruition. What I expected or thought would have happened just flips, in which we lose to the Clippers. We beat Phoenix and Utah. The Warriors will lose a game, and we move in to the top 6 seed, into a 6 seed. What's good, Coach Calvin? Good morning. Good morning, sir. I need the Grizzlies to put at least 3 starters on the floor on Sunday versus. Y'all still got a possibility, Coach Cal? Y'all still got a possibility, but y'all got to take care of business, bro. Y'all got to take care of business. Is it possible? Can the Mavericks beat Chicago this evening? Today? Is it possible? Is that going to go down? Those are some of the main things which comes out to. But like I said, it remains to be seen. We'll basically get a chance to see how that goes. Everyone is vying. Everyone got needs a little help here and there. Oh, okay, Chicago and San Antonio will be sitting out starters. All right, I get what you say. So basically, you're basically saying y'all have a cakewalk, possibly. You should. We that should be the case, especially if you got Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. That should be money in the bank. Y'all should finish. Y'all should get two quick dubs, possibly. So yeah. So okay. And only need OKC to lose one game. Same thing that we're looking at. Lakers need 2 games. We need Golden State to lose 1. But our fights is 2 different ones. You're trying to get into the play-in. We're just trying to solidify an automatic bid to the playoffs, and not have to worry about playing 1 or 2 games or even possibly being bounced. I really think that this the tournament, the play-in tournament, really puts pressure on that 7 through 10 seed. I really think that puts pressure on the 1 through 10, that 7 through 10 seed, especially particularly more so. Pressure on all of them, because if you're 7 through 8, then you lose. You got to go play again with the opportunity of possibly of losing again and not even getting to the playoffs. 8 through 10, I guess. I mean, it's 9 and 10. Could take a look at it at in the yesteryear, in the old day, we wouldn't have been there to begin with. But then it comes down to if you win, you still have an opportunity, and it puts that much more pressure on you. He said, "It disgusts me." Sitting out there top 6 with the chance to tie up the 10 seed last night. But I know, trying to stockpile picks. Oh, come on. You know how Danny aim. Danny does. Danny doesn't. It's worked. It works for him. I don't see how, but it's like, how far in the future do you build for? I understand you keep it. Coach Wayne, as a Dallas diehard Laker fan, I'd rather not play Dallas as a 10 for playing it. Correct, that part. That's what I'm talking about, Coach Wayne. Like that makes a whole different. That brings a whole different perspective. So doing that, and again, pressure. Like if we were to go and have to play the 7th to 8 seed, 7 and 8, and we were to lose in the play-in, now that puts us to potentially have to play. I don't even want to play Alexander either. I mean, OKC, like he's been a bang in our side. Like any of that, anyone in the play-in has the ability or possibility of knocking us off in a one game takes all, as opposed to a series. Series are a little bit different, but with a one game take all, those are problems. That's pressure. And then the disgust, the possibility to ensue when you look at that, like your team is built a certain type of way, and it's like all that goes for what? But we will see. It remains to be seen how that's going to go on. Coach Wayne, your message that you sent me the other day, is that still, you still need that done? I just want to make sure so I can. I had a thought of doing it, but I was going to check with you to see. So please let me know, or shoot a text them to me so I can go forth accordingly. But so 2 games remain for each team. At least a minimum of 2 games. We'll get the chance to see what the outcome ends up being. We're getting closer to find out who is the MVP. Okay, I got you. Of course, we still have an opportunity to see what's the insight going to be. So once it's all said and done, we'll see what all these teams are. Some of our favorite teams. Does Dallas Mavericks get into the play-in? Will the Memphis Grizzlies climb the mountain and end up being the number 1 seed in the West? Does Denver right the ship and finally debunked all the conversation, talk about how they're a weak team and how they're soft and they're only a regular season team? Is Milwaukee potent enough to get another chance? Are they are they that squad? Take a look at Milwaukee the other day. We already know they had the win streak this year, the longest, I think, 17, 18 game win streak this year. Then they got beat. But hell, in the last 16 games, they've won, I think, 4 or 5 of those games. Milwaukee's pretty potent. They got a bench. They have reserves. So it's time maybe to start looking at Milwaukee as a true problem for any team. Coach Kyle he won't watch OKC games or hope for the Grizzlies to win. If you were me, I'd let the Grizzlies know what. It's becoming. Coach Kyle, do you think? I mean, I know what you hope. Do you think, respectively, that Dallas Mavericks can get into the play-in and cause a problem and be a problem? I know we've seen Jalen Brunson. You got to think, if Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie were able to be potent and go to the Western Conference Finals last year, you add Kyrie Irving to a team. However, you remove Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is no Kyrie Irving. I know you always talk about how JaVale McGee is there. Do you think Dallas getting into the playoffs, getting to the play-in, potentially becoming one of those 7th or 8th seed, Dallas has a chance, a clear chance? Would you wager that, Coach Cal, or anyone that fact? Do you think Dallas getting in could shake it up in the West? Okay. That's a good point, Coach. Of course, that's his reason why he coached. So yeah, so it's a lot, you know what I'm saying, riding on a movement of a lot of these teams for the most part. So I got more hope for the Lakers than Dallas. I don't know, is that a slight or what? Anthony, I'm glad to have your information with us. But I mean, going forth, that's what we're seeing, and that's where it's going to actually all come out to once it's all said and done. So I'm excited for it. This is what the whole sports thing is all about when you put it in perspective. To see these ups and downs, of course, you don't want to see it at the expense of anyone's team. But I mean, this is what we want to see. We want to see this type of engagement. We want to see this type of action, this type of excitement. So real quick, shifting gears a little bit before I get to a certain announcement, I wanted to talk about the back and forth with these Hall of Famers, right? What is the situation? Why is it good chance of very most? And that's what the expectancy, of course, was, Coach Kyle. Like the Lakers can be a force if healthy, and that's the why. And why do we always have to say if healthy? That's the biggest thing for most of the teams. We always talk about if healthy. Lakers can be dominant if healthy, but that's not the case. 7-game series, no rest games after one hard game. Correct. And see, I wasn't going to talk about this, but the comment from LeBron in reference to why we lost to the Clippers is saying that the schedule caught us. That's not even necessary to say. In my opinion, that shouldn't have been said. That shouldn't even have came up in the discussion. It's obvious, of course, the back-to-back caught you, yes, but we didn't have to go to overtime with a team like not having Lauri Markkanen and company. Also Jordan Clarkson. No Lauri Markkanen, no Jordan Clarkson. And then we go on, we play, and then end up lose to the Clippers by 8 points. But then we come back and say the back-to-back caught us. Not necessary. We all know, you know what I'm saying, it happens to other teams. And some teams don't get caught like that. They don't lose. They just go ahead and they play. They might lose a couple of games after the fact, but they don't lose. When you look at that and for him to come on and say that, it's like, come on, LeBron, bro. That's not necessary. But it may have some truth to it. In-state. There's no way around that. That part, Coach Cal, like, come on, bro. Like, this is things that you put upon yourself. These are things that in which you do not have to say. These are the things that, it's true. And you know what? That's a perfect segue into what I was just about to talk about, Cal. So I was wondering, why is it, a couple of things when you think about it. Why is it that our greats that we saw coming up and playing tend to always have beef with one another? Or it's not necessarily beef with one another. I look at it as, it seems like it becomes a situation to where it's put out at that point. It's understood that there was obviously some issues or quarrels under the surface with these players, why they was playing one another. The latest, of course, if you've been watching the Up with Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, they had Charles Oakley on, and Charles Oakley had some choice words in reference to Isaiah Thomas. And in-state, he was like F Isaiah Thomas, and then he went on to talk about that Isaiah Thomas was basically mad because he said his quote was, he came to your city and took your city. That's why you really mad. He took over Chicago. Knowing that Isaiah Thomas is from Chicago, Michael Jordan became the polarizing figure in Chicago. And so Charles Oakley basically told him that he's just mad. That's what's wrong. Isaiah Thomas' rebuttal was, I remember us kicking your ass a lot. Someone please check my record versus any team he played on. Sit down, be humble. End quote for Isaiah Thomas. Now, we got to take into consideration, these are old heads from OGs from prior to us. Is this just a form of them talking smack and there's really no beef? They're just basically having witty banter back and forth? Or is it really some animosity and beef between them? We know Charles Oakley is not one to miss words or anything like that. So what exactly is going on here? Is that the case where they basically have beef with one another consistently, constantly? It's always been there. When we look at the whole, like I said, the Michael Jordan thing, we see what happened with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. They end up squashing it, of course. Love after the fact, when you take in consideration that Kobe is now deceased, and of course all the love and admiration comes out. We don't see too many or hear too many sit up and speak anything ill will of Kobe, as far as his brethren, whether it's Hall of Fame or just in the NBA in general. And he's a lot of people's, our younger generation's GOAT for the most part. But the older heads, bruh, they really get it in and have conversations and feel a certain type of way, and which to me is wild. So I just wanted to see was there any thoughts or anything like that? Why y'all toil that over? Of course, on First Take yesterday, Jason Fitz and Harris Douglas had a little conversation in which they discussed what's good, Lazy. I don't think that's going to happen, brother. I think he's going to stay put to where he's at. But it was a conversation where it talked about the NBA expectations in the playoffs. And they broke it down to two: pretenders and contenders. As from their admiration, from their perspective, they have three top contenders and three pretenders. Their contenders are, at 1, the Milwaukee Bucks; at 2, the Boston Celtics; and at 3, the Phoenix Suns. So when we look at that and take into consideration the Suns, the Bucks, the Celtics, and how they've done and what they've done over the course of the season, you can think. I know the Suns, for the most part, is based off of having KD in the fold and being very potent at this point, not losing a game since KD has came into be a Phoenix Sun. 16 games needed to win the NBA championship. However, a good amount of games could be played within that, where you can play a quarter of a season for the most part, trying to get through there. What's good, Frat? What's going on, Zach? Glad to have information this morning, brother. How you doing, sir? So you can have a quarter of the season played in a short amount of time. I don't know if Phoenix can keep that pace in a series with some of these teams. I'm not sure how they match up. Of course, when you take into consideration, as always, we was just talking about how we say if the Lakers are healthy, you have the same conversation when it comes to the Phoenix Suns, if they're healthy, or any team for that fact of the matter. Can they stay healthy and continue to push that line? On the other side of the spectrum, pretenders. Number 3 for pretenders, Sacramento Kings. Now that remains to be seen. We know what Coach Mike Brown has done in the organizations in which he's been with. We know his resume for since. Does that line up to say that he's not going to be any good with Sacramento in the position? Excuse me. They got some pretty De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are a pretty potent duo for the most part. And we have the Golden State Warriors. I wouldn't put the Golden State Warriors in as a pretender, but however, I can't understand the sentiment that the Warriors are a pretender team, that the Warriors could be a pretender team based on the fact that everyone expects them to turn it on once they get in the playoff mode. But I think I would actually I wouldn't have even. And that's a good point, Coach Cal. Malik Monk would have to play out his mind the whole time, in which that adds to another mystique of there's some pieces in Sacramento, in which they got a couple actually. When you take into consideration, they got Horter that's there. He would be another one. You got Keegan. He can be another one. So Sacramento is actually, I think Sacramento at the minimum does not belong on the pretender list. I ain't gonna say that they're a contender, but I think they shouldn't be on the pretender list, or they are not. When you look at the top 3 on the pretenders, that they're not in the top 3, in my opinion. Nor the Warriors in that fact of the matter. I think the Warriors are. I think where the Warriors are this year is no different from where they were last year. And I didn't at no point did I believe the Warriors were a championship contender, a championship caliber team late in the season, or for that point to even put and then up jump the boogie. Here they are, and you're like, oh snap, the Warriors got a chance, and then they get locked in. We thinking, oh, they're against Boston. It might end for them. Here it go as a Lakers fan, thinking like, damn, here we go again, Boston with another championship over us. And then you turn around, you blink, and it's the Warriors holding up their 4th championship in 6 to 8 years. So definitely, I don't see the Warriors in that as well. And last, the Lakers as pretenders. So I don't think, not just because they're my team. In that part, Coach Cal, Wiggins is coming back. So if he gets GP, is back in it. So they're almost, in that sense, they almost have the same team that they had when they won the championship, in a sense. As these players start to get back into whipping themselves back into playoff contention shape, you almost have that same squad, so to speak. Jordan Poole, a little wiser in that. I mean, they don't have Damian Lee, but of course, Damian Lee wasn't that big of a factor to begin with. But in any case, he's in Phoenix now. So, I mean, go figure. Kings are real. I agree. What's going on, Frat? What's going on, Elijah, sir? Mr. Zero, glad to have you formation with us this morning. So I just think for as far as when you look at the pretender list, the Lakers for the most part can be on that list, but not as the number one team. But we know as long as LeBron is in LA, as long as the Lakers are the Lakers, we're going to continue to have that comparison and that conversation based on the fact that they're a storied franchise. Tinseltown is the big draw, all the stars and stuff like that. Even though the tide is turning a little bit, you tend to see a lot more people being Clippers fans or just fighting for the underdog. Russell Westbrook, of course, I continue to say that was the biggest mistake that we could have made and letting them go, but we had to take into consideration what we got back in it. But it just wasn't a thing in which for have LeBron and Russ and AD. Well, in my opinion, LeBron and Russ to be able to work together because LeBron is a person that needs the ball, wants the ball, and you tend to give him the ball. Russell Westbrook, he came to be exactly who he was. You can't have the man averaging triple doubles and then expect him not to be that man to come in with the ability to do that. And I think that was the biggest fail which the Lakers had, and it was unfortunate. It's almost like we took years off Russell Westbrook's life, off his career in state, just for him to turn around, move across the hall, and then come and be a thorn in our side. He could have stayed in Washington for that part, and we could have kept Kyle Kuzma or moved Kyle Kuzma somewhere else to where we could have got something back in return that would have meshed with LeBron and AD better, so more so than Russell Westbrook. It's a light of firing him to end up coming back to knock us off. Are the Nuggets and Grizzlies the more favorable opponent for the Lakers? I got them falling in the play-ins. The Nuggets, in my opinion, Coach Cal. I think the Nuggets. I think the Grizzlies are too much for us in state. I think the Grizzlies would be too much. The talent, the young talent, the agility, that feistiness. I ain't gonna say they grit and grind, but that feistiness they have ensues. I think that's the worst matchup that we can get is the Lakers and the Grizzlies. But to have the Nuggets, but then again, that can turn too. It could be a position where the lack of experience, just 2 seasons potentially of playoff experience, although they have gone deep, but that might be something to capitalize on to be able to see. But then take in consideration, we have a rookie coach to where that might become a issue to where even to have the wherewithal to take advantage of the rookie or the inexperience of or what potentially can ensue from the Grizzlies as they go forth and start to build the momentum and probably start to do things and just and not be locked in as an experienced playoff team. That can make a difference. Okay, difference. Jackson Jr. can guard AD, Joker cannot, and that part in which we basically talked about that makes a huge difference as well. As Coach Walcott was basically saying, if AD again, if the Lakers are healthy, so of course if AD goes and he is able to be healthy, then he can basically put forth opportunity to where he can lock down, be a problem for a Jokic, but at the same time, I think that the Lakers have more of an opportunity and have more pieces that would enact a different type of interaction or game for Denver as opposed to what we can run up against if we are in have to face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. So that's where my money is at, Coach. I would rather us to play as an AC potentially as opposed to a 7 seed, but we'll see. more favorable matchup. And that's why I was just trying to get at the that, like you said, Coach, the emotions. Great point, great word. The emotions that come. I think that's what was the downfall for the Grizzlies against Golden State last year. It sounds good, you know what I'm saying, all that emotion and a lot going back and forth and the trash talking and stuff like that. But Golden State was an experienced team. They've been there before, so it made sense. And they knew what to do to take that on the chin, give it back a little bit, and then execute and put them in position to where they moved on. And Golden State and the Grizzlies wouldn't have had a seat. So same thing, and I would hope that Coach Ham is able to see that, reiterate that, and make that happen. But we don't know. We'll see how it all turns out for the most part. Let me say Jaren Jackson defends better, but isn't as much of a threat on the other end. A lot of Grizzlies' success revolves around newcomer role players. I'll give you that, Coach. I think Bane would be the biggest issue. If we can keep Brooks from antagonizing or allow him to antagonize, but to put it in a perspective to where it's more hurtful to his organization, to his team, than it is to the Lakers at that point, it works on it. And like you said, it to get them to have those emotions show, but not affect the Laker team will be key. That would be my point. Like, hey, stir a little something up, but don't have it to where it's going to affect us. Was that the last thing I have for that? So of course, before I move on and do a little talk about the NFL, I was asked to have an announcement. Of course, as we know, we have a lot. The second string point guard for the Grizzlies has. Who's their second string point guard for the Grizzlies? Shit, I don't remember. So, as I stated, yesterday, I wanted to come on and talk about this and deliver this message yesterday. But technical difficulties, as I said, even my router or something's out, or the internet is basically out. So I'm just on the data. Take that for data. But I'm on the data plan right quick, using the data plan right quick. But I was given Coach Wayne Walcott. Of course, everyone knows him, especially if you follow the military basketball community. Coach Wayne Chief Walcott, when he's not in coach mode, asked me to deliver a message in which he wanted a heartfelt message, in which he wanted to say. Of course, I will give this quote directly. It comes with a heavy heart that I will be stepping away for good from military basketball. My family needs me as we battle a declining health issue together. That means I can't pursue the TBT team or go anywhere at this time to even watch the soldiers compete. I wish all good luck on the remainder of their seasons, that being the Nationals tournament, the NBA Finals, as they go forth. God bless, and pray one for my family as well. We are going to need it. Unquote. So, of course, you know what I'm saying, we want to make sure prayers and condolences and everything, not condolences, prayers and everything go out to Coach Wayne and his family as he deals with a difficult time in which something in which obviously he loves. Coach Wayne, last year's National Military Basketball Coach of the Year. I believe this year's Capital Classic team in which he coached. I believe last year's NBA finals champion for the 2022 season. Just in a certain amount of time, in a little amount of time in which I have known Coach Wayne over the course of the last year or 2 years, he's been all over it from military basketball for the most part. Of course, there's some contention here and there, but of course you have that when you have people that are passionate about something and look to invoke some change in it and do work. And for the most part, the hilarious banter of him giving buckets to Fort Lee, if you've been watching it. So you got to take that in consideration and just look at that. So those are the types in which you got to have around. Everyone does their part and for the most part in community, well, especially when you look at it from a military standpoint, brother and sister um, all across the line, all across the armed forces, from as they say, from shores to Tripoli, uh, all for what we do and what we believe in. And then this is the leisure part of it. There's nothing in which these coaches get paid, and they continue to do battles and fight a good fight for the service members, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force. It all goes down. And now, so of course, Coach Wayne has to step away, as he says, for good. Maybe that remains to be seen, but of course, that is a good mindset to have, to say that yes, we're good. So that way you don't have to fight and battle with the fact of you're leaving something you love to take care of someone or something you love even more. So of course, I implore everyone that's out there, of course, that knows Coach Wayne and everything, like you said, as you see LaSantin and Coach Cal, of course, putting up. Necessarily, I ain't gonna say reach out to him, but you know what I'm saying, we can do better by just basically picking up the mantle, picking up that torch and continue to run with it. Is there anyone else out there that would put forth the effort in reference to the TBT, or to assist in that effort to try and get there? And just, you know, saying, put that, it's different ways of doing it. It doesn't have to all be lost. So of course, you know, saying, we bid Coach Wayne and his family prayers going forth, and hope everything takes a turn for the better. And so that way we can get that type of coach, caliber of a coach, back into the fight. But in any case, prayers for Coach Wayne and his family. Moving on, right? Kind of, I guess you say, hard to just move on from that to have that like, okay, next up. But I think it's a good segue to go into what's potentially right now going on in the NFL. Yesterday, they had a Tyreek Hill, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, basically let it be known that after his contract, which basically has 2 years, 3 years, basically 2025 is when his contract ends. Tyreek Hill has said after this contract ends, he's going to go forth and he's going to decide to call it quits. He's like, he's no longer plans to play anymore after the 2025 season. When his contract expires, he plans to go on to other endeavors. He wants to get into the gaming, in which he's in the process now of building a gaming team, to getting sponsors and picking up players and everything like that. So Tyreek Hill's expectancy is that he will no longer be an NFL player at the end of 2025. Now, it's a little early, maybe even presumptuous to say that, to like basically I'm retiring, but it could be true. We're definitely going to have a continued watch on that to see, is that the case? Will Tyreek Hill hang up his cleats, hang up the Deuce gloves for a career to go into gaming? What we have seen in the past, we have seen plenty of players that are even in their prime or haven't even really touched their prime yet decide to hang them up, call it quits after a season. Of course, Patrick Willis, Andrew Luck, Barry Sanders, all have been players who have done that, but never has it really been one. Andre Johnson, but never has it really been one. Megatron as well, Calvin Williams, but never has it been one that has went and done it like 2 to 3 years out before his contract ends. But it helps to do that, I guess. It helps to prepare the team if that's what he really is going and doing. But it remains to be seen if he's going. Now, what he did do, because he's still active, as we talked about, he did sit up and basically tell the fans, because he was on a radio station in Kansas City, in which he was talking about it. He's like, we come to Arrowhead Stadium, and he's going to hate to have to show the deuce in that time frame. Of course, there's players from the Kansas City Chiefs team that heard this interaction. and basically let it be known. Where's mine? And let it be known, of course, Chris Jones was there to say that the only due sign you're going to be throwing up is walking to the bus after the game and this loss. So, of course, now we already got the juices going. We already know we got a little time going on in the NFL. We haven't even got to the draft yet, but of course, we know draft is at the end of this month. We want to see Miami coming back, retooled. Tua back in the shoot, hopefully. All recovered from the concussions, and they have things in place to keep him protected. So we're gonna see how that goes. But we'll also keep a watch and see where Tyreek Hill will be in 2000 or after 2025. Will he be building his gaming conglomerate, or will he be suited up on the sidelines with the Miami Dolphins? Other news, as we know, the New York Jets have signed one-time backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers and Tim Boyle from who played, I believe, on the I forgot what where he last played, but he's now a Jets backup quarterback. Interesting enough, either you think like, why is he the backup quarterback? I know the expectation isn't that he's going to be the safety valve or the plan B if they aren't able to attain Aaron Rodgers. But when you look at it, Coach Hackett was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. He knows Boyle's skill set, and he's currently the offensive coordinator in New York. So it makes sense to bring him in as a backup for the most part to a OC in which he knows best. So it wasn't that much. Of course, the New York Jets continue to have conversations and talks and trying to put together a package so they can make that trade happen. Maybe we see the trade at the end of the month during the draft to where there's some picks moved or some players drafted that suit the players being picked. It remains to be seen. So we know it's a bunch of different strategies when it goes forth. So we have that possibility. Additionally, staying in quarterbacks, talking about quarterbacks, Cam Newton, as we know, was at the Auburn University Pro Day, in which he threw some balls, maybe to show, he still have what he still has. You had a conversation where Cam Newton came out and said he wants to know how a bunch of randoms are getting jobs and they're not better than him. And he initially stated that it wasn't 31 quarterbacks better than him. Correction, 32 quarterbacks better than him in the league. Cam now has reversed that, going on Gridiron and saying that there is only a few quarterbacks in which he is willing to back up. So if you listen to this list, you see a rhetoric, or you see you see that he has a certain mindset going about it. So of course, the quarterbacks in which Cam Newton is willing to back up is Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Tua Tagovailoa, Deshaun Watson, Malik Willis, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Sam Howell, and Aaron Rodgers and Hurts are the only quarterbacks in which Cam Newton say he is willing to back up. So that would undoubtedly knock off the Ravens, Bears, Dolphins. Well, that doesn't knock them off. It just says that he wouldn't want to go start for those teams. Of course, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are going to potentially be top picks in the NFL at the end of the month, in which they're going to have their franchises, which are going to be starting up on. That's what I'm hearing, Alonzo. That's what I'm hearing, Alonzo. That basically Cam is better, feel like he's better than Dak. He could take Dak's position. He's not willing to come to Dallas and sit behind Dak. That's what I hear. Along with Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, and a couple of other ones in which he's saying. So, and interesting enough, the Sam Howell of Washington, Josh Allen. So it only some of these, a few of these have starting positions. When he said Malik Willis, it pointed me definitely to know, like, he's basically looking at he doesn't in certain players, but Malik Willis is one in which it from what Malik Willis showed last year. If Cam couldn't take Malik Willis's position, then that's a problem all in itself. But Malik Willis might become better. He's gonna get an opportunity. I know possibly they're going to probably look at moving on from Tannehill, or maybe Malik gets an opportunity to compete with Tannehill and it showed that his strides and show better. It was a bad showing this year. A couple of unfortunate situations. Of course, Jalen Hurts. He wouldn't overtake anyway. Then the young guns, and C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson, of course, expected to be top players. Another quarterback that's been in the news lately, conversation, Hendon Hooker, which is possibly will looked at potentially being a candidate in which the Baltimore Ravens are going to take a look at late in the first round, maybe second round, possibly. So it's some pieces out there for the most part, but that's who Cam said he is willing to back up. Everyone else, I guess he's saying, looks like dinner to him. Of course, when you look at Houston, doesn't have a quarterback in place. The Jimmy Garoppolo's, the Derek Carrs, he's not willing to back up. Of course, none of those people are checking for him anyway because they already have brung in backups as actually the it's on the tip of my tongue. Hogan was just signed by the Las Vegas Raiders to be the backup to Jimmy Garoppolo. Josh McDaniels having Hogan in his camp while he was with the New England Patriots. So of course that was probably a wise backup move. So there's a couple of them out there that saying that, which I hear subliminals on. That's 15 teams, just a little over half, under half of the teams in the league, in which he's basically saying everyone else he can potentially start over. I don't know, but saying at this time, day and age, you never know. Maybe he does have that in the tank to where he can put that, make that happen, or maybe not. So, do we get a chance to see, does Cam get back into the league potentially as a backup with the opportunity to be a starter at some point again? I know they just showed tape yesterday. Michael Vick throwing the ball and letting it rip, in which that was one of those players at one point that looked like he was down and didn't have it in him, and then he showed. And then he, of course, let it be known that when his days with the Jets, so he had a second opportunity to show that he can be a starter in the NFL. He lacked the motivation to do what he had to do and had a dismal showing. So you have that, of course. So last but not least, before I get ready to get out of here, if you are a combative, pugilistic fan, we know UFC 287 is about to go down this weekend on, I think on Sunday, of course. The top two fights is going to be one to see, of course, the co-main event is putting Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, the ex-UFC BFM champion, puts him up against Gilbert Burns in a matchup to where we haven't seen Masvidal in a while. However, the last couple of times we did see Masvidal, it wasn't too becoming of the fights we have seen happen that put him in position. But in any case, he faces off and he plays. And then, of course, we have Pereira versus Alessandro 2 as Alessandro tries to avenge his loss or losses to Pereira for the most part, as we know that that's the only person in his weight class and he has lost to over a course of years, over the course of different platforms, over the course. He just hasn't beat him. He seems to be his thorn in the side, but they get the number 2. They get the second fight. His first Pereira's first defense will be against Alessandro, the man in which he took the title from, in which, in my opinion, I think that is the most unfair thing there is. I don't think I should have to defend the title against the person in which I have to defend my first kind of defense, be against the person in which I took the belt from. But of course, that's not my decision, and we know it's all about the mighty dollar. And of course, that's the biggest fight for him right now, and the biggest money maker. So Asante 2, will Asante get a chance to avenge it? We already see what happened when Usman had his second fight, and it was more of a convincing fight than the first one was. So we'll see how this ends up going. Sunday morning, I think 10 a.m. I think possibly, or something like that, or it starts 10 a.m. In any case, but you could be able to catch that. Of course, there's going to be the preliminaries on ESPN 2 or plus, and then we get into the preliminary fights and then the main card fights. So be sure to tune into that. We're going to definitely talk about that on Monday. Even in a short hour, I think we'll do a power hour on Monday because I have to I have an appointment I have to get to at 10 o'clock. But of course, I'm pulling up and pulling in on Monday. So of course, that's our show today. Another quick hour. Glad to have conversated with y'all, talk a little bit. Come Sunday, we should know. Come Monday, we all should know what's going down in the NBA. Be looking at who's in the play-in, who's not, who's front runners for these awards. All that's going down. Of course, it's. I hope y'all enjoy y'all weekend. Easter Sunday. That's when the people usually pull up to church on Easter Sundays, Mother's Days, and Christmas. And you don't see them all year. They come back around then. But in any case, that's good if you're in the house of the Lord to do to give Him praise. It doesn't matter when you do it, how you do it. It's just the fact that you're doing it. That's your boy Trey. I'm up out of here. I greatly appreciate y'all with the continued support. First Formation. And we're getting closer to another. Getting closer. We got the end of March. End of May coming up. We already know the end of April coming up, and then of course the beginning of July. Much for military basketball. So continue to check in on that. San Antonio, pull up. April 28th through the 20th. I think it's the 28th through the 27th. Let me give you the correct dates. Don't want to give any false information. Yes, 28th through the 30th. National Military Basketball Tournament. And then, of course, the Memorial Day weekend for the NBA and their championship. So it's going down. Military Basketball Worlds is getting ready to pop off for softball, military softball. That's going down. Hey, it's a whole party. Be sure to tap in, check out your local installations or any surrounding installations to get that information. Until then, be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, got Twitter, all that. Until then, y'all enjoy y'all weekend. I'm your boy Trey. I'm out. All love.